Right. Getting started a little late here. So we're just going to jump into it like usual. Okay. Let's have a look at last week. If you guys were here for the stream last week, you saw the process on me creating just kind of like a little walk cycle. Not a walk. Why did I say walk cycle? A little, hold on. Do this every freaking week. I get switched to my animation and I don't show you I don't share my screen. I don't know why I do that. All right, here we go. I'm going to share it. So this is the final. Hey guys, thanks for joining. This was the final animation. If you were here last week, maybe you had some input. Maybe you were there to say, hey, let's do the rage, or cool, whatever. This is kind of what I came up with. A little bit more polished and refined version than that one. So overall, I thought it was pretty cool. It was fun to like challenge myself from you guys giving me input on what to do rage. And I know there's a lot of different ways that you can interpret what rage looks like. One of the hardest things to do is to take somebody's concept with no context and go, okay, now act, go do it. It's a lot easier to put a character into a setting, let the surrounding environment kind of dictate what they're mad about or what their rage should be. So it was challenging to think like, well, what is this character going to be angry about? What's their motive? But all in all, like I think it's an okay version of it. So this is what I did last week, and I like this process. I like the idea of like, maybe I'll take a character and then I'll take some input from you guys to say like, well, what should we do with this character? And then I'll do some animation cycles. Just as like one format of this live stream. I still think it's cool to explore Moho and see what we come up with, because there's so much that I'm still learning. One thing that I actually saw one thing I found out that I think is really cool, if I have another character, so take this character with his yellow jacket and blue coat, and if I have another character like this one, you see the hood on her head? If I was to select the hood, and first of all, this hood is rigged up, so if I move my character around, the hood is connected to these bones and it moves as such. So it has rigging to it. It's connected to bones. And if I select that hood on top of her head and I go copy layer, and then I come into this character and then I go paste layer. I really hope this works. So it kind of breaks on him because I think maybe his hair's bigger. I don't know. But here's what I'm getting at. All that rigging that was set up is set up for this character now. So this hood is now connected to all of his bones. So if I raise the arm, the hood moves with it. If I move his head, the hood moves with it. Because it's already got that stuff pre-built into it because I did that before. So all I'm doing is copying and pasting that layer, but it remembers all that information. So you don't have to go, well, let me take this hood from that character and then re-rig it. It's already pre-rigged. It's amazing. So this is a software called Moho. This is Moho Pro. I want to say it was 14. And I've just I've just discovered this probably about a month ago, maybe 2 months ago. I love it. I freaking love this program. And if you've spent any time in my live streams or following me on Instagram, you know what I'm about now. I'm all in on Moho. I made the switch and I never looked back. To be honest, I still use After Effects. I'm using it right now for a project. I don't use it for character rigging, but I use it for like video editing and compositing and motion graphics. So if I finish a scene in Moho, I'll export that video file, bring it into After Effects, and then I'll do my editing there. I know there's other editing softwares that are probably more useful, like Premiere or something. So you just make one rig and apply it to all the characters. Yeah. So the way that I try my best to create rigs is I make one universal rig that's going to accomplish just about everything that I need it to accomplish. And then from there, I'll duplicate that rig and then change the layers on the inside just to get a different view, a different visual interpretation of the same rig. This way, what's up, Emilio? How's it going? So in this way, if I do animation on one character, that animation can translate to any other character that I create because I'm starting with the same template rig. So once I have that template rig made, it's basically just a matter of tweaking it to get a different appearance for different characters. So, I mean, these characters are the same. So she is the same rig as this guy, just different features. And the cool thing, if you have heard or if I've shown you, you create something called actions. And so an action is exactly what it sounds like. It is an animation that you have pre-made and you can save it. So I have a few actions here that I've made in my library. So I'm creating this actions library, which is so handy. This is amazing. So let's say that I'm going to delete all these keyframes. Let me hide this. Okay, so I have just a blank character. No keyframes, no actions, no animation. If I was to take this action here, copy it, and then insert it, now my character has an animation to it. Okay? But this action, because my bones are all the same, because my characters are identical, this action can go on to another character. It's actually super, super handy. Oops, not what I wanted. I'll put it right here at the beginning. Look, so now she's doing the same action. Okay, so that in and of itself just blows my mind. I love it. So once you've made one animation, boom, you can use it as many times whenever you want on as many characters as you need to. Yes, Arthur, it saves a lot of time. It's amazing. It really is. So things like walk cycles, for instance, or just simple like background character movements like adjusting or, having a conversation, you can apply animation to those background characters just like that. And you don't even have to think about it. You can reuse the walk cycles. You can reuse literally everything. And the cool thing is once you have something, let's say that I have this action used here. Let's say that I want to put another action in. If I insert a copy, it translates these keyframes and gives like this seamless performance. So she'll raise her arms up, and it might need some tweaking, but then she'll go straight into this action of acting. So as long as you don't have anything too like extravagant, like probably raising the arms is a hard one to sell. But if you have a subtle movement, and then you add another subtle movement to it, you can start to build, and you build these performances, which are just so incredible. And you can like interplace and move them around, almost like a puzzle, to create different, unique performances. And that's it. And another cool thing is, because of the way this character is rigged, if I have my character doing their performance kind of like front camera, or even maybe like camera left a little bit, if I want to change that and make it more directed performance to a character either to my left or right, I have a master control. And what I can do is rotate my master control. And to some degree, I can get a new performance where the character is acting to either their left or their right. And it works, kind of. I don't know if it works very well with her hood, but let me see. Feels like she's... So she comes back forward here. It saves the rig movement to the plane. Oh yeah, so let me go back just a tiny bit. So if you look here, these are all actions, and an action is simply an animation that you've pre-made and you just save it. And what it's looking at is, it's not looking at the character and the character's movements, it's looking at the bones, and it's looking at the rotation of the bones. And so it calculates all that information with the keyframes, and it saves those keyframes so that I can apply all those movements to a new character. So it's essentially just, it's like an animation library, where if I have a character walk, I can save that walk and then apply it to any other character that I've made, wherever I want on the timeline. Let's see. So I have, let's see if we can throw another action in. So I've got two actions going on here. I'm going to add another one. Oh wait, that's the one I just added. How about we'll do this right turn shock. And I'm going to delete. I'm going to delete this rotation. Okay. So let's turn this off. And I'm going to see, now we've added a third animation to this. Let's see how well it translates. Okay, so now I'm just going to hit play. Hold on. Okay, so here's one, arms up. Here's two, kind of gesturing. And then here comes three. Oh, now she goes to this direction. So that's three different animations that I've made that now get seamlessly transferred into this one character. It needs some work with like the hood, because the hood was a very like last minute thing, and I've only intended for her hood to be like a forward facing. If I was going to re-rig this, or if I was going to animate her very side profile, I would have to re-rig it. Yeah. Tutorials will come one day. I'm sorry, guys. I know everyone seems to be asking that question, and I don't have an answer, just because I don't have the time for it. So maybe one of these days, if I have a rig that I need to make in the future, I'll sit down with you guys here in a live stream and just like map it out. But as of right now, I don't have any in the works. There's no tutorials in my mind that I'm thinking of. Right now, I'm just digging into Moho, trying to understand it better. And that's the other thing, is I'm not equipped to teach you guys the proper way to do things. I'm still learning. I'm still trying to figure out how does this work? So if I was to do a tutorial, I would probably add hours of your life in a tutorial that weren't necessary, because I'm probably doing things wrong. And I don't want that. I don't want to teach you guys to do it the wrong way, and then you go on the rest of your lives going, this is how it's done, and it's not. So let me take some time to figure it out a little bit more. The amount of joysticks and sliders I have to make in AE is ridiculous. I don't recall AE having the option to plug in to save animations. You literally have to save a template files or memorize the animations. Yeah, After Effects doesn't really implement the recycling animation process very well. The way that I would always do that is I would do it the same way. I would have a base character, and then I would just make duplicates of that character and change their appearances. Then I would take that base character, animate them doing whatever cycle they want, and I would save that file and name it, character sits and eats dinner, and it's them eating dinner. Then I could take that file and duplicate it to the other characters, so that when I opened it up, now my new character was doing the same exact thing. But it just ran into so many issues, because if I had that character in the same scene in After Effects, it was hard, because it would basically read the secondary character. All of its controls would then translate back to the first template character. So you couldn't have two characters in there at the same time without renaming them completely. Otherwise, After Effects goes, oh, character one body, character one eyes, character one head. And it goes, well, this is character one. You're not character one, so I'm going to read you from here. And so if you wanted to change their expression or some of the joysticks components, you couldn't, because they were all reading from the first character. It's confusing. I didn't like it. Didn't make sense. You don't have to worry about this with Moho. And on top of that, having the actions library, I mean, come on. Like, that's amazing. I honestly, when I got into Moho, I think I've said this before, I had no idea that you could recycle animation so easily. I was just excited with the tools that were at my disposal and how easy those tools were to manipulate. Then I found out about the actions library, and I was like, game over. Game over. No reason to go back. This is amazing. Thanks, man. Thanks, Danny. Yeah. Let me talk a little bit about this animation too, because I do think that Moho makes me a better animator. And I'm not saying that because it's easier to animate in. I think it just interpolates. It interprets the keyframes a little differently. Like, it changes the motions a bit. Another thing I have on here that it's not cheating. I think it's a useful tool. This might blow your mind too. So the reason that there's some good kind of weighty moments in here, and the character feels like they're kind of moving, there's actually dynamics applied to the bones, so that when the arm comes down, all I have to do is animate essentially A to B, and then there's dynamics. There's physical gravity applied to the limb, so that as she goes like this, the bone kind of wobbles. Let me make sure it's turned on before I tell you that and find out it's not. So let's have a look. So if I come here to the wrist, so this is the wrist that rotates left and right. So right here I have bone dynamics turned on, and I have an angle dynamic turned on to that wrist, so that as the arm moves left or right, the wrist is going to start to sway and I'm not animating it. It literally moves on its own. Hello? Yeah, After Effects got like super unenjoyable to animate in. All right, so another thing that I have dynamics turned on to, let's see, is the torso. So there's an angle dynamic on the torso. So as I move the character this way, her body's going to jiggle to get into place. Same with the neck. It's going to do all that stuff. So this character is being animated by forces that I'm not applying to it. I'm not putting keyframes in there to make it happen. So it just creates a little bit more movement to the character than what I've originally done. So like let's see if this works. So if I go in here and turn them off, let's see what it looks like with these dynamics turned off. And I hope you guys don't lose respect for me and then say like, oh, this guy's cheating. He's not even a good animator. I might not be a good animator, but if there's a tool that I can use to make my animations better, you better believe I'm going to use it. So now let's see what it looks like with my dynamics turned off. So it still looks pretty much the same, but I guarantee you those dynamics on there add just a little bit to push it over the edge to make it look nice and polished. So I'll turn it back on. I don't know. You might not even notice it. I think it helps. So yeah, I have dynamics turned on to the wrists for the left and right turn. I have dynamics turned on to the position of the wrist so that if I put my arm down, it's going to bounce a little bit and the wrist is going to flop a little bit. And you can turn these up or down so that if you do a movement, it can really have like no dampening effect on it. I wonder if that's how the big companies make their shows, using action lines, whereas the shows like Family Guy or Rick and Morty. They might. Yeah, I would assume that if a larger studio is making a production, they have this kind of stuff at their disposal, and most likely they are using it. I would say that they're probably not using it for the main characters or the main performances, unless it's just like a quick A to B shot or like B-roll. Just because they have the budgets to start from scratch. But I can almost certainly foresee that they were using stuff like this for background characters, like characters walking through the background, characters interacting with each other. They're probably recycling that animation because you don't need to waste time or money on that. Maybe not as likely as a main character performing. But yeah, like why wouldn't you use it? All right, I'm going to fix these arms because if I keep looping this animation, I might as well get it to look right. So here's what we'll do. So I'll copy these and back up. There we go. All right, so that's the actions library. Okay, so it's useful to maintain any animation that you've ever done and then translate it to different characters. Now, from what I understand, if you have a rig, let's say it's not identical, let's say it's not even the same rig, it's just a new one that you've made. From what I understand, as long as it's somewhat close to the original, you can still translate these actions and these keyframes to the new character. I haven't tried it, so don't hold me to that. I don't know. Yeah, when Moho 14 came out, that's when I started to hear about Moho. And I was seeing that there were some really cool things happening. From what I've seen going back to like earlier versions of Moho, it wasn't as good as a software as it is now. There were some things with the way that it rendered effects and the way that it just looked and functioned that's similar to this, but it didn't have this user-friendly quality. It's still challenging. Like Moho, don't get me wrong, Moho still has, because it's a completely new language to me, it's hard. It's hard to learn that language. It's hard to understand what their animation performance is like until you get into it. But once you learn it, it becomes easy. It becomes easy. It becomes as easy to animate just as like After Effects is. But in my opinion, easier. And this is the reason that I'd say it's easier, is because there's no lag in this character. Like if I'm animating her, and if I was in After Effects right now at full resolution, because this functions at essentially full resolution, and I wanted to move my character, do you know how long it would take me just to move her arm? Whereas now, it's seamless. Like there's no lag. I can do literally anything I want to this character, and it works perfectly. You know? So that's the biggest thing that really influenced me into switching, is because After Effects had completely sucked all the joy out of my animation. It had sucked the life out of me, and I didn't even want to open the animation. I didn't even want to like touch my animations. I would come into work every morning and be like, oh my gosh, I gotta like work in this stuff. And it was awful. Like I hated it. Now in Moho, same project, I'm excited to work. I'm excited to get in here and start doing this stuff. After Effects, I was not excited. Moho, I'm like a kid in a candy store. Like you can't stop me from working on this stuff. It's so much fun. Yeah, AE. And I feel bad about, because I made so many tutorials using After Effects, and I think I just helped perpetuate this idea that After Effects was the tool. I'm not saying that you can't animate, you can't like rig a character in After Effects. I'm just saying I feel bad because I think I pushed After Effects too far. I pushed it too far and maybe encouraged some other people to join in, and like, you know how they say misery loves company? I think I was making other people miserable by thinking this is the only way to make a character. So if I did that to you, I'm sorry. Moho's the answer. So, or Toon Boom, or any other animation software, because there's a lot out there. So what do? We tackled some actions library stuff, recycling animation. I showed you how if you take, let's say, like the hood from this character, which isn't rigged very well, and then you paste it here. I don't know why the layering is off. Where did his face go? Oh, his hair like jumped in front. His hair jumped in front of his head for some reason. I don't know why that happened. I wonder if that's the hood's fault. No? All right. So yeah, I showed you how now this hood is connected to this layer, this character, without even touching the points of the hood. I think that's pretty cool. So if I have like a character that has something, some like form of jewelry or fashion accessory, all I have to do is copy that and I can paste it onto another character. And everything should rig up properly, which is so amazing. What I'm thinking is maybe I'll do another animation cycle just to keep building this library. So last week we did Rage. We did Rage last week. I'm just going to turn this hood off. And maybe we'll do another one. What should we do? Just a second. Someone's coming in. 2 people. What's up, dude?
Going to karate.
Go to karate?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. You want me to walk you?
Yeah,
What's that? That's animation.
Hi.
Yeah.
What's that camera?
That's right now I'm doing a live stream. So like I'm filming myself.
So we're in the film too?
Yeah. You're up there. They're all looking at you. Everybody.
No.
The whole internet.
Really?
No. I actually think 7 people.
So they're looking at us right now?
Yeah.
Oh, this is so hot.
Yeah, just leave that.
I'm hot.
All right, guys. Are we gonna? Do you have to go right now?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's try this.
I'll go to karate. Tie my white belt. Wait.
Is Mama in the car right now? Or putting Ellie in?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait, where's my water? Oh, it's out there. Outside?
It's not in here.
It's not outside, but it is. It's not inside there. It's in the garage. Oh.
All right, buddy. Are you gonna get your blue stripe today?
I hope.
Do you remember your moves?
Yep.
Okay.
I hope I remember.
You remember. So remember, it's 9 moves with one arm, and then you turn, and you do 9 moves with the other arm. All right. I'll be right back. Sorry, guys. Thanks for sticking around. I had to do something. All right, guys. Yes, Karate Master. So what I'm thinking maybe we'll do is, I don't know, maybe I'll just keep going with my actions library. I'll make a new animation, save it, and then keep it forever. Keep it forever. You guys have any suggestions on the kind of animation I should do? I typically, if I'm gonna do some kind of an acting performance, usually more subtle is better. Because if you do something a little bit too intense, too crazy, too silly, that stands out. So if you have a character that's doing something weird like patting their head and rubbing their belly, that performance almost becomes ubiquitous or unique to that character. So the more general the performance, the more universal it can become. So if I was going to do an animation cycle, I would probably do something that's very generic, Hands up is safe, talking, hands out, gestures, look to the left, look to the right. But that's not very exciting. So if you guys have anything in mind, why don't you throw it there in the chat? Maybe maybe I'll do something like, I'll let you guys vote. Do a stomp. Okay. So I guess the character would be a little bit frustrated or somewhat angry. Unless they're singing We Will Rock You and they're right? Little Queen. Let's see. Well, let me just let's go to the main line. Let's delete keyframes that we have. Just to talk a little bit of smack on Moho, because all I've been doing is singing its praises. One thing that I don't like about Moho is anytime you move keyframes, if you want to undo that move, like, oh, I moved it just a little too far, let me just Control Z. It takes a while for the computer to go, oh, undo. Okay, so you're going to sit there for an uncomfortable amount of time before it corrects your mistake. That I don't like, because sometimes I don't know if it just didn't register my command or if it's just thinking really hard. So if you make a move, like let's say I move this arm up. That was pretty quick, actually. But if you have a lot of keyframes that you're moving around, it takes a second, and rightfully so. It's it's keyframes across the whole character. After Effects does that a little bit better with moving keyframes around. Something Moho can work on in the future. All right, so this performance, what are we doing? We got a stomp in there. Oh yeah, I thought of an angry stomp to go along with the current animation. Oh, I got you. So we've got that rage going on, and he needs to start stomping. Let me think about this. If I think maybe better yet, what I should think about is, what do I have in my work day that I would need an animation cycle for? Yeah, I'm guessing I'll just start animating like just a generic kind of like acting. Haha, acting in the theater, something like that. No, let's just get. I'm just gonna get. I'm start moving. Let's start moving some stuff around. So most of my stuff all has this general generic pose. It starts off like this, and I'm still trying to understand and navigate how far I can push it with Moho. Like, do I have to start all of my characters in this neutral pose? Or could I start a performance with a more exaggerated pose? And would it still incorporate into my action sequence well? Right? So, this generic pose, you can jump off from multiple actions pretty easily, right? Because it's all going from the same pose. But if I was to push the pose of this character to a very unique kind of performance, would it translate well? That I don't know. So I'm still trying to figure that out. Just for the sake of this kind of, I don't know. I don't know what these are. They're not tutorials. This live stream. I think full tutorial, sketch to animate. Yeah. One day, Vertex. Baby steps. What's this? Oh, that was my sword. Baby steps. I'm still learning the program. You don't want to hear from me because I don't know enough about Moho to give you advice. It might sound like good advice at the time, but we won't know until it's been tested. We just won't know. Okay, let's start moving some stuff around. I'm gonna have a character. It's getting hot in here. It'd be nice if I had like a prop or something. I could have the character being propped up on something, like leaning, just to get comfortable, or have them sitting. If you can put a character into a natural pose, it just makes it more believable and a little bit easier to animate. Because if you have a character like this who's just standing generic, it's boring, right? It's just boring to watch. But if you have someone in a very comfortable position that you yourself might find yourself in, it just makes it easier to animate because it's natural, feels natural. So at this point, I don't have a character that's going to be sitting or leaning or anything. So I'm just going to do some kind of a performance that. All right, how about this? I'm going to give you guys 3 options, and I just you can either say 1, 2, or 3, or whatever the options are. And if you feel like typing, if you have the energy to pick up your fingers and go 1, enter, your votes in the running. How about we have happy, number 1, sad, number 2, or what's a happy or sad? Those are good emotions right there. Happy, sad, Worried? No. Worried? No. Happy, sad. Let's do worried. I can't think of anything else. Happy, sad, or worried. 1, 2, or 3. And I'm going to sit here. I'm going to wait till at least one person. Angry. We kind of did an angry one last week. But thank you so much for chiming in. Should I show the rage? Let me show you the rage. Tell me if you think it's angry enough. So happy, sad, worried. 1, 2, or 3. Fear. That's a good one. Surprised. Thank you. Oh, 2 surprised. Okay. Yeah, maybe we'll do surprised. I got 2 for surprised. OP. I can suggest introduction of prop like a big box or animate simple actions interacting with it. Surprised. All right. We got bored or lazy. But you already said surprise, so all right, let's do some surprise. Surprise. Is this like a birthday surprise? Or is this like there's a spider on my shoulder kind of surprise? Or is this like the character could pull something? Oh, you mean like physics? Like I'm actually pulling something. You want to see the dynamics of weight? How could I am pulling a car? Wow. I mean, he'd have to be pretty strong to pull a car. Would you be pulling a car, or typically you'd probably be pushing a car, right? Okay, so we're going to incorporate surprised. Thank you guys for doing that. You guys thought outside the box big time. I gave you 3 options, and you said, nope, we want a 4th and a 5th. And you took those. Good on you. Carrying a cross. Oh. You know what? It's not finished, but I did do, let me just open that up. What was that shot? Was it shot 5? I did one of him Jesus carrying a cross. It needs work, but kind of gets it. His feet are sliding all over the place. His arms aren't connected to it yet. But I did that. So as much fun as that would be to kind of like go through that and do it again, it'd be not a great use of my time because I already did it. But we got pushing a box, surprised by the weight. Yeah, I'm letting you make some suggestions for the animation. Let me show you guys this shot. This is just me kind of like tooting my own horn because I think it turned out pretty cool. Where is it? Here we go, scene 6. I think just visually, it looks beautiful to me. And I kind of rigged up this cross so that as it moves, the crosses look. I'll just show you. Let's see. Here, we'll go with this. Hopefully it plays smoothly. As you start to incorporate layers and all this stuff, it can really slow down. So he comes up, and goes boom. And what's kind of cool is the what's kind of cool is that the physics. So like, you know how I have all those dynamics applied to the bones? As he comes down, a lot of that is almost animated on its own. Like I didn't have to do some of it. I did a little bit of the head bobble, but making a music video. Yeah, that would be cool. I've been contacted by people to do music videos, but it just never works out with budget. Um, sometimes there's small artists that just don't understand how much money goes into these kind of things. So as badly as they want the music video, it's just not in the budget. Let's throw up a render. Here's the final render. Doesn't that look so pretty? Sometimes I surprise myself and I'll do some pretty stuff. I'm not a background designer. I'm not even really a character designer. I just kind of got pushed into needing to do this out of necessity. But whenever I can do something and make it look half as decent as like a professional, I don't know, it gets me excited because I'm like, whoa, I didn't know I was capable of that. So sorry, let's go back to, what are we going back to? Oh yeah, this character. Okay. So we're gonna make him act surprised. As much as I would love to do technique. Oh, thank you. Yeah, a lot of what I've realized, a lot of background design, it's not so much about like technically forcing a great thing into somebody's face. It's really just understanding a couple of principles. One, make sure your layout is clean. Two, make sure that your eye is being pulled toward the focal point. So using lighting can really help achieve that effect. So if you have a foreground, don't make that the focal point. Either find a way to blur it or make it darker. Make the midground, make sure that that is well lit. And then the background, make sure that that's desaturated, not well lit. And, it's just like some very simple elements to making a good layout. And once you master it, boom, you just keep replicating that over and over. Oh yeah, so we're doing surprised. Let's get this character surprised. And I've been doing this for, an hour now? I don't know if I'm going to be able to do a full long one. Like I've got some that are like 3 hours. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do a full 3-hour set today. It sounds like I'm a musician. Let's just get into it. If I feel like I can keep going, I'm going to keep going. It is kind of a crunch week for me. I got some deadlines. All right, let's just get in the main character. Here we go. Surprised. Throw out some options. So we've got the box pool. I don't know that I can really do something super unique. I think that it still has to have somewhat of a generic quality if I'm ever going to reuse it again. And again, what the hope with these live streams right now is that I'm going to build an actions library where things can be used over and over. One day there might be a point where a character has to be surprised, and I'll never use that animation again other than for that one shot. But for this action library, I'm hoping that what we can do is build something that can be used throughout different characters and different scenes, and that the audience, which would be you and me, we're not going to go, hey, I saw that movement last week, or I saw that movement, 2 scenes ago. The idea is that the movement is going to be so general that it just gets the point across to where they understand, like, this character's surprised. But nothing about it stands out as a glitch in the matrix, I know this is off topic, but I want to say thank you so much for making the After Effects tutorials and lighting video. Really helped me so much and saved me a lot of time. Well, thank you. Thank you for watching and saying so. What's really cool is, like, when I'm making those videos, like, I never expected like people to watch them. And so just getting feedback to hear, like, hey, it helped. Like, that's really encouraging for me to hear. And I'm glad I could help somebody. Because it's funny, a lot of times the comments that do stick out are the ones who are like, you didn't do it right, or lame, or this sucks. It's like, come on. You wasted 5 minutes of your life. You don't need to be rude. But it's not for everybody. Some people don't glean any information from what you're given. So thank you. I appreciate the positive encouragement, or the positive reinforcement. All right, let's jump into surprised at something in the sky. Oh, okay. Ooh, I like that. So what we could do is, if we had a character who was oblivious to what was above them, I think the way that it would go is, like, if you look up, what's up in the sky? Usually a sun. At nighttime, a moon. But there would probably be this, something has drawn his attention upward. It's like, huh? The hand would come up to shield his eyes from the sun, right? He's trying to get a focal point on what it was. And that's when it would be like, oh my gosh, that's when he's surprised by whatever it is. Typically in my case, because I work for a church, that would be an angel of the Lord, or, God ascending from heaven, or something like that. But for most people, if they look up to the sky, maybe they see a bird diving at them. Or this just happened to me not too long ago. I looked up and I saw a bird right above my head take a big fat dump. And it was like, I don't know what happened, because I saw it coming at me, and I did this flinch, and I jerked out of the way, and I was holding my 2-year-old son in my arms too, and I just flew him around. And as the poop came down, I was looking around for it, and it just disappeared. I swear. It wasn't on me. It wasn't on my head or my shoulders. It might have hit him. I don't know. I couldn't see it. But that shocked me. That scared the crap out of me. And I said some very colorful words as it was approaching. So that was surprising, because I looked up expecting to see the sky, and there was a bird right above my head pooping on me. Okay, so let's just do it. Let's do that surprise look. I like that. It's simple, it's clean, it's unique. I think we can get some pretty cool stuff out of it. Okay, I'm going to say this. This is what I've learned with animation. Animation has about, I'm going to say there's really 2 parts of animation. There's the physical that's the movement of your body. And then there is the emotional. That's kind of like the face that you make. It's the expression that you wear. And I would say that the physical it makes up maybe about 50%, and then the emotional, which is what you wear on your face, that makes up the other 50%. So when you're trying to sell something, and I know this isn't always the case, but if you're trying to sell something, the physical face that your character's making takes 50% of the weight, and that's really what's going to sell it. So we're going to work hard on making sure that the physical is selling all 50% of its weight, and that the emotional is selling all 50% of its weight. So at the end, if you know anything about math, 50 and 50 makes 100%. So we're going for 100% full performance. That's right, baby, 100%. All right, so let's do it. Let's make this 100. So I think in this case, starting off in a general pose is great because we're going to transition from oblivious, which is what our character is, oblivious at this point, to intrigued at something that has caught his attention, to shocked. Okay. And then that shock, why don't we stick with the bird poop scenario that I told you about? And maybe he can see it coming. He's like, his shock and surprise happens, and then he crouches down, right? He ducks and covers. Does that sound good? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find just a general, maybe more normal expression. There we go. And change the width a bit. Yeah, let's just do that. Let's tilt the mouth. Just give it a little bit more character. Gotta animate the poop too. Let's do it. All right. So now let's do, yeah, we'll do that. Maybe I'll change the shape a little bit. No, not too much. Should I make him a little droopy-eyed? All right, let's put him in a pose. Head down. Maybe I'll turn him a bit. We'll have him looking maybe slightly downward. That's good. Do I want to change maybe his hips a bit? No. I'm just going to leave the hips normal. Okay, so we have a relatively general neutral pose. The way that one thing we have to do is we have to put keyframes across the entirety, or maybe we don't. No, we'll do that. So that requires a scale and a position. So once you have one keyframe set for each translation, so scale, rotation, and position, you can add a keyframe across your entire rig, which is what we're going to do. So escape, and you just right click and add a keyframe, and now every bone in here gets a keyframe. So now what we'll do is we'll start to add some stuff in here. There'll probably be like a pause, and then maybe around here we'll put a blink in. We'll just have a little blink go, and then this will come up. So there we go. We got a blink. As he blinks, some of you guys already do this, but I like to change the position of the eyebrows to kind of like scrunch a little bit. Just helps sell the overall facial movement. I might even make these eyelids move a bit. Is that going to help sell it too? All right. So that's good. So we got some blinks going on. Maybe he'll do like just a subtle head turn here. Maybe I'll have him look a little bit more forward on and up. So he'll do a blink. Maybe we'll keep the head down at this point. So I think what we'll do is have the eyes move in this direction, down, and then we'll have them move up and over. So we're just trying to give like a little subtle interaction. So it blinks, moves. Maybe we'll move the eyebrows down a bit too. So he's kind of furrowing downward. And at this point, he'll come back up, and maybe we can even raise this eyebrow higher. I'm going to move this. Maybe I'll move both these. I'm going to move this one over. Okay. All right, so we got this. And then I think right here what we'll do is have him blink. So what I can do is just select these two, the bottom lids and all that. I'll copy and paste them. So he should blink here. Oh, wait. Don't forget the shape. There we go. So he should blink. And this is where I'll have him look to his left. So we'll do head turn here and up. So this will be maybe like a subtle kind of look. Like something caught his attention. So what we got to think about is if something catches your attention, do you blink and look, or do you look then blink to gain it? So if I was like this and I saw something, I guess I would blink. So here in the blink, we're going to do an eye shift. So this is where the eyes will move. We'll have them move like this and then up. The head's going to come down and up. I'll keep it moving like this and then maybe up a bit. So let me delete that one. Okay. So we're going to do a quick, maybe a quick movement here. Maybe he's not surprised just yet. Maybe at this point he's going to squint to look at what he's about to see. And then he gets surprised. Okay, he realizes what it was. So if he is looking upward towards the sun, he probably wouldn't open his eyes all the way, right? He's going to be squinting a bit. So let's do something like this. And maybe it's going to be, maybe it'll be like this, right? He's got that squint. And we're going to change his eyebrows too. So bottom lids can reverse, shape. No, shape will go like that. Okay, I'm going to push that there. I'll push this here. Okay, and then the eyebrows are going to change. Maybe we'll scrunch them in a bit. Yeah, we'll do that. I don't want him to look angry, though. So maybe this. Okay, then we'll have him move his hand up. So just looking around. Or actually, maybe just sell it a little bit quicker because I don't want there to be too much like dead space. Maybe he'll put his hand up at this point. Does that work? Well, if he did that, I feel like he'd have to look in this direction first. So he'd be looking. So let's try that and see how it looks. Does it look believable? He's looking. Maybe he shouldn't look backwards and down. Maybe what he needs to do instead is go from here to slightly up. So if he moves slightly up there, and then right here, what would he do? All the way over and up. And let's copy that and see how it looks. I feel like maybe his eyes are kind of moving a little bit too much in this short period. I feel like maybe what I'll do is delete these, copy that, so that we just have 2 shifts. So it's over and then into position. Okay, that's fine for now. So he looks up, and now he's going to put his hand up to shield his eyes from the sun. Right? So he's really going to get a good look at what is catching his attention. So at this point, I'm going to add a keyframe to my character just throughout, so that I don't get any of those, random tweening motions. I just want it to be from right here and then up. So we're going to move this arm into position. It's going to come up. And I honestly don't know if I have a hand that's going to fit this position. Ooh, and secondly, I don't know if I have, I guess I can put the hand in front of his face here. Let me get the timing down, then I'll figure out when to switch. So maybe he'll lean back just a little bit. Head will come up and turn. There we go. I guess this arm would maybe come back a little bit too. Maybe the whole body. Oops. I'm just going to leave the hips. I'm not going to touch them. Okay, so let's keep his arm going. Hand will come here. It'll go in front of the face. I think maybe I'll move this elbow. Maybe like that a bit. I mean, that would probably be fine. But maybe there'll be a little foreshortening in the arm. So let's just see how that looks. It looks a little too robotic. So what I think I might do is maybe right here, we'll do a little. Yeah, what's up, John? So maybe what I'll do is have his arm kind of like slightly move into position a little bit. I'm not quite sure. I feel like maybe his arm went the wrong way. Right? So he's kind of like bracing himself for maybe like that initial look into it. And so at this point, I'll keyframe a few of these so that I can move it into position just slightly. Like a little anticipation into the action. Huh? And then since I did that, I'm going to need to copy the keyframes from here to here. So to be I think it's these keyframes. So let's copy them. And paste them. Nope, that's not it. All right, so we're starting to get a little bit. Okay, so he sees something. He's like, what is that? What's up there? Then he raises his arm to shield from the sun. I got to switch that hand around. And I got to move it into position. Let's go ahead and put the hand, what is that, his left hand? Where's your left hand? Here you are. Left hand will come above the head. Right here. Interesting. See, this is why you guys don't want me teaching you Moho just yet. Because I don't understand why that's not working. I should be able to move that layer above. I don't know. Okay, I'm not going to worry about it for now. That might be something I figure out when I polish this. So the hand's going to come up. One thing I can change is I can change the way that the hand is positioned. So let's fix that. Let's see, right. Actually, the whole time, I think it might need to be a different pose. So let's do maybe that pose. It's going to come out. That doesn't look right, does it? Can your arm bend like that? I guess maybe it does need to be reversed. Or maybe I've just broken the arm too much and it shouldn't be like that. So maybe like this. All right, cool. Another thing that I like to do whenever I animate a character, if they make a move, it almost doesn't matter what kind of move it is. If I go from my hips are here at A to B, I always do an arc. There's always a curve downward. And that's really because gravity takes a toll on our bodies. So if gravity is affecting this character, the easiest thing for gravity to do is to pull his body down. So if he moves, he'll most likely be doing a move downward and then up into position. That's those arcs that the classic Nino men were talking about. Okay, they were on to something. They knew what they were talking about. So we'll move him backwards a little bit. So I'm going to grab this guy here, move him back just a itty bitty. And then as he goes back right here in the middle, we'll pull it down. See, that gives a little weight to it. It's not much, just enough to sell it. Okay. Let's see. I think his legs, yeah, his legs kind of bend out. That's fine. You know, as long as the legs aren't like too poppy, you want there to be a smooth movement to the legs. This is a little poppy, but I'm not worried about it. So he comes down. I think what we can even do is we'll add a little squash and stretch to the torso. So his body would come down. So it'll come down, and then it'll pop up back to 100%. Okay, I'm going to pull the head down just a hair right here. All right. Let's see, are we selling it? Yep, he's looking. Something's catching his attention and he's about to be shocked. Are you guys ready? You ready for the shock? A suspicious salute. Yes, it does. But I guess that's what it looks like when you stare into the sun. It's a very suspicious salute. I think the reason I get what you're saying. The salute is because it's very like, right, arm out. If I was going to be looking at the sun and shielding my eyes, I would take most likely the quickest path from A to B. So I think what has to happen maybe is the arm, instead of coming out and around, it comes up. Right? Thanks for pointing that out. Shows the shock. All right, let's get to some shock. Let me fix this salute, and then we'll go to shock. So this arm needs to come over. So instead of being out like that, I think what I'll do is pull up this arm like that, and this one has to come inward. So we're going to switch it. So let's see how terribly this is going to be to fix that. So maybe I can just rotate this around this direction. And does that fix it? Boom, that fixed it. And remember, I'm going to have to fix the layering of that hand. Let's just see. Let's just have a look-see. That one, that one. So let's lower that. Actually, I'm going to move this elbow. Maybe we'll go like this. All right, let's just watch it. See what happens. It's hard because it's hidden behind his arm, and some of the layering doesn't look quite right, but I think that's a better movement, right? It's just straight up. What's the FK-IK switch like in Moho? That's something I haven't played around with a whole lot. So like when you use, one of the nice things about like Limber or Duick is they come pre-built with that IK-FK switch. With this one, you kind of have to rig it up yourself. So at default, when you create bones, you create everything at FK. Then once you have your FK rig, you can go in there and create that FK into an IK rig. And then through a series of using something called smart bones, which are essentially just a bone that you rotate for on off, you create a switch. And it turns off the IK and goes back to the default FK. I haven't done it yet. I've tried it with this rig, and I think that because I didn't know what I was doing with Moho when I first started, I think I put the cart before the horse, and I made this really complex rig with all this stuff happening to the bones. And then I went, oh, let me make it an IK-FK switch. And then I ran into all kinds of problems. And so I've just left it at IK for now. Or I'm sorry, just left it at FK for now. because it was just a little bit too tricky for me to go back and re-engineer my rig. That's going to be something that I'm going to have to tackle here probably pretty soon, is getting it back to IK. Because when I animate, I love to have my characters put their hands on something and then just start moving, or like hold something. And with FK, that's just impossible because it's, you know, all the limbs are attached to the body. So when you move them, obviously the arms move with the body. So it's going to be a hurdle that I have to tackle here soon. Theoretically, it's not a hard thing to set up at all. You can do it really easily. It's not something that I did right from the get-go. There were so many things that I was learning that it just became an afterthought. And I added a lot of stuff to this rig to where, you know, when the body rotates, there's animation on these bones to align it with the rotation. There's animation on the bones to account for the shoulder lift. So like when I raise this arm up, you see how the shoulder comes up with it. You know, that's like all stuff that you put onto the bones that what I found out, it actually impacts the way that IK is going to present itself. So before you add any kind of animation to your bones, I would say it's probably best to set up your rig with FK IK first and then figure out how that rig's going to function. And this is where I'm at. But this rig functions pretty good with FK. As of right now, it doesn't work for IK. But on the other hand, the legs are IK. So I was able to set that up for IK because I didn't have any animation on the leg bones just yet. I worked from the torso down. And when I figured out that I'd messed up on the torso, I was like, I'm not doing that for the legs. We're going straight IK first right away. And I don't, yeah, so the bones are locked right now. So I could set up a switch to turn that IK off, and then they could function as a IK. Sorry, I probably went too deep into IKFK. We'll leave it at that. All right, here we go. Where were we? We were switching the salute. I really want to get this arm and hand to switch because it's bugging me that they are behind. So that's the right arm. Oh no, that's the left arm, sorry. So realistically at this point, it should come up above. I wonder if I'm just selecting the wrong. Switch layer is not what I'm using. I don't understand what I'm doing wrong with the layering, but I'll just have to figure it out later. Sorry, guys. All right, let's jump back into it. So he's going to look up. He's going to see something. So he looks up. Maybe he'll do one last little squint in to build that anticipation. Okay, so he's going to come up, look. Then I will do one last keyframe here across the whole of the character. Oops. And then right here, he'll do maybe a little bit of a slow lean in. Maybe we'll move forward just a bit and rotate forward. Okay. Maybe the arm will come up a little bit higher. How would I do that? Maybe not. Well, if it did, and then this came down. Yeah, that might not work. All right. The neck will lean forward. Head will rotate maybe upward just a little bit. This will come up. Look up. Okay, he's not quite selling that squint and lean in. So let's sell that squint and lean in. Comes up. I think he needs to. Maybe he needs to come down just a bit. Rotate forward a little more. I want these shoulders to come up. And maybe the head will scale down. Maybe that's what it is. Okay, then we'll pull this out. Maybe this can come back down. All right, let's watch this thing. I guess that works. All right, so we got the squint. We look up, squint. I don't know. What do you guys think? Is he taking too long to get to surprise? Because he's going to go to surprise right now, I promise. I've been egging you on. I'm just trying to build that suspense a little bit. He leans in. I'm just going to leave it. He leans in, and then right here, he's just going to explode into shock, and then duck and cover, right? Boom. Let's do it. So he's going to lean in. Thanks, hold on to your butts. Here it comes. You ready? He's about to be surprised. Okay, we're going to do a quick move. Here it comes. What he'll do is he'll probably take a big step back and down. This foot will come back to catch his balance. Maybe, oops. This will come down and out. Maybe this won't come up. So if I saw something, I was like, I would come back and I would probably be leaning away from what I saw. So let's change the way that he's positioned. Maybe we can rotate his hips a little. Let's scrunch this head way down. You'll probably even pull him a little further back. Oops. Really sell this kind of like I don't know. Before I get too out of whack, I'm going to reset some of my bones so I don't completely break this rig. Okay, next we got to make sure his face is definitely surprised. So we are going to open the eyebrows, change the shape, Okay. Let's see here. Pull the eyes up and over a bit. Now let's change. Maybe I'll tilt it this direction. Open it up. Okay, we're getting a little funky here. Okay, so what we're seeing here, whenever you get into a very large animated, a large like movement for the characters, dynamics doesn't always work. And there's a way that you can turn off dynamics. It's interesting the way that Moho, the way that they do their animation is that at any point, if you're on a keyframe in the timeline, not a keyframe, if you're at any point in the timeline and you change something, it puts a keyframe there and says, boom, off, or boom, on, or the color gets changed. So that's one thing you have to be careful about when you're animating, is that if you get to a point where you say, you know what, I think that the dynamics should be off for the whole performance. What it's going to do is it's going to say, well, you have a keyframe here at the very beginning that says it's on. So we can turn it off for you here, but you might want to go back and fix that. So that's what's going to happen here, is it's going to keep the dynamics that I have on my character on until I get to this point. And I think we'll probably do it right here at this point. So I'll hit B, turn off the dynamics, and you see it puts a keyframe right here for me. So that when I do my big move, his body's not going wah, wah, wah. His head might do it, but that's okay. All right, so we're getting somewhere. So this, I think the build up to it is looking good. It gets a little wonky right here. And that's because we are not quite selling every inch of this. We got to sell the face just a little bit more. So at this point, we'll have him scrunch his eyes up a little bit more. Maybe close them because he's really trying to get a good peek at this. Maybe that was wrong. Okay. Scrunch these eyebrows in. Maybe we'll change it up a bit. I feel like maybe we'll change the mouth here too. So as he kind of blinks and looks up, maybe he'll have more of like a little slightly open mouth expression. So let's change some of these things up. We'll come forward to here. We'll open his mouth just a little bit. Just so that he's kind of like, huh? Yeah. And I think we'll keep it throughout here. So I'm going to select these controllers. I'm going to copy their keyframes and paste it. And then right here, maybe we'll do more of like a clenched teeth kind of expression. So we'll change it to maybe a little wider, open the mouth up a bit. We're going to find that perfect pose. I'll tilt it this way for now. There we go. And then we're going to grab these controllers. And I'm going to copy and paste their keyframes. So now we have a hold here. I'm going to copy and paste them back here. And then maybe we'll make his clench a little bit wider. Like this. Okay. Now, in order to really build this kind of movement here, I think what we'll do is change the up and down a bit. And as it hits here, we'll add a little wobble to it. So maybe at this point, the head will come down into position, and maybe it'll turn like this, and then it will wobble back and up, and then maybe settle over and then down. It still feels a little wonky here, right? So we're going to fix that. We're going to fix it with some timing. We're going to fix it with the way that these arms move. Everything about it, it just feels a little too like stiff and robotic, right? Okay, so he's going to be looking up. So maybe this arm, instead of coming up like that, this one needs to come in front of his torso a bit. So let's grab these. Let's see where these keyframes are. I'm going to rotate this one around. Whoops. To in front. Pull this one up. And then maybe we'll pull this down like that. There we go. I think that's better. I'm going to change. Remember how I talked about gravity really pulling down a character? I'm going to move it like this. So he's going to drop and then come into position. Boom. And maybe he moves too far. Maybe that's part of the problem. Down, up. Maybe I'll do a quick little jiggle so that he bounces into position. And then we'll settle it in this kind of like slightly, elevated position. And then up. Okay. I wonder if I should turn the dynamics off his neck too. So two. Oh, you know what it is? He needs to come down, and then his head needs to come upward. So it'll come down, and then the neck can settle down again. Okay, we're starting to get somewhere. The neck might be a little too bobbly, and maybe I'll turn the dynamics off on that. Okay, I want it to be a little snappier here because you see how he's like, no, not quite what I'm going for. And I can always turn dynamics back on later. Let's see this. Here we go. Cool. So we're surprised. Oh, now he's going to duck and cover. Right? I don't know what it was. We can go back to my bird poop story. Maybe a bird's pooping. We got to get that bird dropping a big old deuce on his head. Let's see. I feel like I want there to be a little more weight to his body here. What do you think? So he's going to come down. Let's just push it a little bit more. And I think I'll pull out the upward movement a bit. We'll come. Oops. We'll go up. And then down. And then up. All right. I'm liking it. Aside from the layering of his arm, I think it's pretty good. You know, something catches his eye. He sees it, realizes it is shocking. He's surprised. And now he's going to go duck and cover. Okay? Duck and cover. Surprise. A surprise. And now, quickly, let's get him into a nice duck and cover situation. Right here, what's this rotation? I don't know. Oh, that's probably his head. So I'll just do it here at the end. I'll add keyframes across the board. And then I'm going to drop him quickly into a crouching position. And once I get my characters into position, then I'll add some of the secondary actions and overlapping actions and posing and timing and all that. I just want to get from A to B and then figure it out from there. So I'm moving forward. How many frames? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 feels good. We'll see how that translates to the animation. Okay, so we're going to have him come down. I'll probably pull this foot back. Oops. Let's rotate this under his body. Okay. Now, how do I want to do this? Maybe I'll just pull this foot in like this. And I'm going to do this because I'm not at the professional level in Moho yet. So going back to my weaknesses, one big weakness is I don't have a way to rotate the foot just yet. I know you can do it. I just haven't learned it. So what I'm going to do is just I'm going to animate with the rig that I have. Not with the rig I wish I had, but the one that I have. And doing this means that his knees will probably just come straight forward because I can't turn the feet just yet. I could, it just gets a little weird. So we'll do this here. So we'll have him hit to the ground. And again, I'm going to figure out the timing in just a little bit, so don't worry. So he's going to come down like this. The hips will probably, everything will straighten up. So let's reset my angles. Reset my angles. Let's move my feet into position. That looks fine. Okay, and then right here, body will come down, head will come down. Arms, all this stuff will reset. I'll turn the body. Whoops. Let's go ahead and reset this guy in your position. And I want these to we'll change your eyes to a closed eye, eyebrows down, because you are bracing for whatever it is. Split the hand layer when it's about to hide behind the body, and move the split layer to the top of the body layer to show the hand. That's what I thought, and for some reason, it's not working. Like, I'm trying to just move it. I've had luck with it in the past when doing other animations. But there's always like some simple thing that I'm not noticing in the moment. And then I'll go back and do it and be like, oh my gosh. What was I was like using the wrong tool or something like that. So that's probably the case. Look at that hair. So I've got some physics or dynamics on the hair. You can see it moving. All right, so he's going to come down. Oh, yeah. Oh, I was doing his mouth. Here we go. So let's decrease the width. I'm going to close his mouth. Or maybe I'll do like a kind of like clenched teeth. Okay, that looks pretty good. This arm will come up, cover his head. Look at this. Now the hand is in front of his head. Why? What did I do? Again, I'll worry about that later. Okay, let's just get into this. Okay, so hands will come above his head. He's protecting his precious brain, his precious head from damage. Okay, maybe this will scrunch down even more. How low can we get with the neck? Let's really compress him in there. Okay, and so this pose here, there's going to be a lot of compression going on. And I wonder if maybe at this point, should I try turning back on my dynamics? See what happens? That's angle. I thought I had one on the scale too. Let's try scale, see what happens. I'll put the head one on. Let's see if scale works. Let's just see. I don't know what's going to happen, guys. Did you see that? Okay. Okay, it doesn't work. That's great. That's okay. We can go do this manually. All right, here we go. I'm going to turn off these dynamics because they're just too fun. They're just too much fun. All right, where was I? So here's what we'll do. I can see my dynamics right here. So I have a layer with this spring. That's my dynamics layer. So I can come through here and just go delete, and it's going to turn off those dynamics because I selected those keyframes and just got rid of them. So I'm going to just manually squash and stretch this character. So from the moment of impact, which is the final keyframe right here, I'm going to go forward about maybe let's try 3. I'll do 3 keyframes. I'm going to scale it down a little bit and a little bit. Head will continue to come down a little bit. And the body position, let's see, should I move it or is it going to mess up my knees? It works. Okay, cool. We'll go like that. So it continues to scrunch. And then we're going to pop it upward. Body will scale up, up. And then head will come upward. And then we're going to have another maybe longer downward movement. Scale this down just a little bit. Scale this down just a little bit. Head will come down just a little bit. Okay, and we'll settle it on the downward movement. We don't want it to be too bouncy. So let's just take a look at that timing. Does it have a nice boom compression to it? I think so. I like it. Okay, that is looking pretty good. Another thing you can do to really sell that kind of like accordion effect is you can offset your motions. So the way you have to think about this is what drives the movement? What is first off the thing that's really making everything happen to the rest of the body? For this character right now, it's his hips. So hips are number 1. Number 2 is anything in sequential order above the hips. So then next in line would be the torso. So it's this bone right here. So what I'm going to do with the scale of this is, so if you don't know Moho, I'm just going to explain this. Whenever you select a bone, it'll be highlighted in red. And each bone has a rotation, a translation, and a scale. So these are my scale movements right here. So he's going to drop right here. So I'm going to select these keyframes and maybe move them out 1, maybe 2. We'll try 2. And then next, we'll do the neck. And the neck will go 1, 2, at least 3, maybe 4. And then finally, this head rotation up and down, we'll do 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And this might be too much. I might just need 1 keyframe between them all, but let's just see what happens. Does it feel more weighty? Oh, yeah. It looks way better. Okay. So we've got this nice bouncy movement to it. I'm loving it. There's one last thing I think we should do is when he ducks and covers, I want him to hold a bit, and then he'll maybe peek his eyes open just slightly to look, and then he'll go for his final kind of like assessment of the situation. I don't want to go too big with this one today. I got work to do. I feel like getting through like 6 or 7 seconds is a pretty good thing for the short amount of time that we've been doing this. So I'll wrap this up. Let's get that one last kind of assessment look so you can figure out what's going on. And then I'll take some time to polish this, or we'll call it a day. Then I'll take time to polish it. But so far, like, I'm loving this thing. You know, it's unique. It's interesting. Thank you guys for the suggestion, by the way. I think surprise was the way to go. I love it. All right, so let's keep it going. He's going to collapse here. I think he'll hold it for maybe, let's say at least a second. So then we're going to add a keyframe across the board. And then right here, I'll have him kind of lean a little bit. Maybe he can stretch a little bit upward. He'll rotate this way. Maybe head will come up. Maybe this arm will come down, and this one will open. Okay. Head will come upward and then turn in this position a little bit. I don't know if I want his nose to make that change. So I might have to animate the rest of his body. And this, or not his body. So why does this head switch right there? Right here it hits. I don't want that. So I'm gonna offset it just a little bit so his nose stays to one side. Just because I don't like that little movement. Okay, so we'll do that. I'm gonna copy that keyframe and paste it so that as he comes here, he'll look, slightly open his eyes, maybe eyebrows raise a little bit. Maybe we'll go like that. I like that. Maybe I'll raise the eyebrows a little bit higher. Okay. So he'll turn. I want that movement to be a little slower. So I think what we can do is I'm going to pull all these keyframes over here. Maybe he holds on the ground too long. There we go. Boom. That's much better. Awesome. I love that. So he kind of slowly raises his eyes to see. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is have him do like, he'll be looking, he'll do a blink, and then maybe a bigger, kind of more open expression here. Sorry, there's some like big trucks coming down the street. I'm trying to figure out what they're doing. Whoa, looks like someone's taking out a tree. Which might be good that we're wrapping up now because it's going to get loud on this street. All right, let me do my last thing real quick. Add some keyframes. Add some keyframes. Right here, we're going to do a nice little blink. Blink, blink. And then maybe we'll pull it. Maybe we'll do an even 8 seconds. We'll extend his body up. Extend his neck up. Rotate him this way just a little bit. The arms will come out. He's going to relax a little bit. Maybe not too much. Okay, I want that weight to still happen, so it'll come down and down. Head will come down and then up. Okay. And his eyes will be open here like that. Okay. Let's just watch this, see how it feels. Thanks, Arthur. So he drops, he looks, oh, and he gets it. Maybe there should be a little bit more of a pause there. So he's going to think about it, and then he'll kind of open up. So as he looks up here, I want him to hold. I thought I did have, I guess I didn't have a hold. Okay, so we'll put a little bit of a hold here. So I'll copy these keyframes. Pull this out just a little bit. Then I'll blink. And I want his expression to be a little bit more like less anger and more like surprise, right? That's where we were going with this, so let's finish it off. So the eyebrows will come up, up. The mouth will probably open. That hand is backwards. Or not backwards, but not in the right position. I need his eyes to not be rolled back in his head. So we'll lower him there. And then right here, we'll push them back up. Okay, let's fix that hand. Oh, I got to fix the feet too. So this arm, you know what? I think this arm needs to come. I'm not going to worry about it. Anyway, right here, the hand needs to change. So let's change his hand behind his head. That one's good. Let's make sure that this is on step. Just going to delete those. Oh yeah, one last thing I keep forgetting. These feet. So we got to fix these feet. So let's do these one at a time. I'll start with this one. So this foot is just kind of rotating through the ground, which is not what we want. So let's move that rotation off. Let's move this. Let's do this. I'm going to keyframe this one and this one. I'll rotate that up and maybe this one up. Let's just see what happens here. And then maybe I'll reset the angle. Reset the angle. And that doesn't look right. I think these are going to have to come one at a time. Exactly. I think this animation's interesting enough to where people could watch it and go, oh, okay, that was cool. But it's not unique enough to where people would see it and go, oh, that's only a move that this character could make. It's generic enough we can reuse it, which is very important. It's important to do that, especially when you want to save time. Okay, you know what? I'm just going to... You know, if you have the right tool, life can become a lot easier. And this program is definitely a very useful tool because it's so efficient in what it's trying to accomplish. And you know, I don't know where you're at in your animation experience, but yeah, it would have taken me a long time. If I was earlier in my career, it would have taken me a long time to do something like this. But when you break down animation into like simple poses, like I want to go from this pose to this pose. Okay, great. I've got it. Now all I have to do is tweak those poses in between. And then you move on from that pose to the next pose. And you start to break it down in these chunks, and like animation becomes easier and more digestible. But yeah, don't be discouraged by that. Like, it's about getting the experience, and once you have it, it becomes easier to do that again. So it's just fun. Trust me, I've spent more time on animation than I probably should have on many a project. It takes forever. Animation takes forever. All right, so we got that. That's looking good. Oh, yeah, the feet. I keep getting sidetracked. Oh my gosh. Okay, feet. Here we go. Here we go. We'll step back. Then I think I'll have... Oh yeah, I'm having it happen. So this foot, this one will hold. So I'll grab these keyframes here. I'm going to push them back even farther. So that foot will collapse inward, and then this foot will collapse downward. Because they can't, I mean, they can happen at the same time, but realistically, they probably wouldn't. They can happen close to the same time. We'll put it that way. So we got to fix this foot over here from breaking through the ground. And the way to do that is just lift it up. There we go. That's better. Then it folds into position. And then this one comes following after. But that one breaks to the ground too, so we need to fix that. Maybe I'll try putting one of these back in, a little rotation. So it comes up. We'll reset that angle, this position will come up. I'm trying not to get his little skirt to go up too high because it's making, obviously, the undergarment exposed. So I think I'm going to try to get this knee down further. So what I can do is I have the ability to control where the knee goes. So I think I'll pull this knee down. There we go. So it hits, and then I'll animate it to reset. Oops, right here. And then I'll animate the other knee because I don't want it to come up too high. And then this one will reset right here. Okay, I'm just going to watch, see what it looks like. That's good. It happens so quick, you don't even notice it. All right, guys. I am pleased. I like it. I think it turned out pretty well. I'm just going to call it wraps right here, call it a day. And I don't even know if this needs much polishing aside from fixing the layering of the hands. But man, thanks guys. I really appreciate you guys coming through here and watching this and interacting with me. Like, thank you so much. Thank you all. I love it. So yeah, I'm going to polish this up and I got to get to work. Keep working. I hope you guys have a great, wonderful week. Have a great, wonderful day. Thank you guys so much for joining. And I will see you guys again next week, Monday at 9 o'clock my time, whatever time it is your time. I'm Mountain Standard Time, so feel free to drop in. Thanks, guys. I'll see you later. Let me get out of here. Peace.